5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
This is About Space, America's return to space, with news and information on our U.S. space program. Is your host of About Space, David Denault.
Welcome and thanks for joining me today, and be glad that you listened in. How many times have you heard someone say, "It's Doomsday"? Were you aware that there is an actual Doomsday Clock, and scientists have set it at 100 seconds to midnight? And I'll share that story next as America and the world is listening to About Space today. Is the weather outside cold and frightful? Then come on down to sunny Florida and the Space Coast. This is your host of About Space inviting you to our Winter in Florida beach package. Stay at the Best Western on Cocoa Beach, directly on the ocean, any Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights. Plus, enjoy a full breakfast daily and all the amenities at this oceanfront hotel. And About Space will include 2 tickets to the Kennedy Space Center, a $128 value. Stay for 4 days and 3 nights at just $249 per person, taxes included, at the Best Western Oceanfront Resort. This is an exclusive offer for About Space today. For information, call D&D Cruise and Tours at 877-747-8631. That's 877-747-8631, and let it snow. And come on down and visit Florida's sunny Space Coast. Welcome back. The Bulletin of the Atomic Scientist have announced that the Doomsday Clock will remain at 100 seconds to midnight, the same as it was set in 2021. The group cited nuclear weapons, climate change, and the COVID-19 pandemic, saying that they pose an existential threat to humanity. The closer to midnight we are, the more danger we're in, according to the bulletin. The clock uses the imaginary apocalypse, midnight, and a nuclear explosion countdown to 0 to convey threats to humanity and the Earth.
This is the Doomsday Clock, and the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists sets the clock to show how much time we have left until midnight. Midnight in this case meaning nuclear Armageddon and the end of humanity. The Doomsday Clock first debuted in 1947 as a graphic on the cover of the first edition of the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists magazine. Artist Marta Langsdorff was married to Alexander Langsdorff Jr., a Manhattan Project scientist. Langsdorff and other concerned scientists founded the Bulletin 2 years prior, feeling a responsibility to warn and educate the public about the possibly disastrous consequences of their creations. Atomic bombs had been used for the first time in 1945, killing 130,000 residents of the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Initially, the time on the clock depicted the hour hand pointing straight at the 0 hour, with the minute hand placed at just 7 minutes before midnight. The time was completely arbitrary, though. Langsdorff just thought it seemed the right time. The graphic quickly adopted the name of the Doomsday Clock, and eventually gained world recognition as a symbol for the threat of an impending nuclear apocalypse. Since 1947, the Bulletin has regularly adjusted the clock face when they perceive a change in threat level, also taking into account other non-nuclear factors like climate change, bioweapons, and cyber threats. Doomsday seems just a few ticks away now, but time on this clock doesn't really reflect actual time, nor is it particularly linear. In 1949, the Bulletin set the clock to 3 minutes until midnight due to Soviet Union nuclear testing,
Truman's dramatic announcement that Russia had the atom secret,
and to 2 minutes until midnight in 1953, thanks to the US developing the hydrogen bomb. But a decade later, the clock turned back to 12 minutes before midnight, thanks to the US and Soviet Union ending atmospheric nuclear testing.
A milestone in '63. East and West banned the testing of nuclear weapons in the atmosphere.
The minute hand has continued to fluctuate through a range of minutes before midnight since then, from 7 minutes till in 1968 thanks to Vietnam, to 10 minutes till in 1972 at the signing of the first Strategic Arms Limitation Treaty.
This is not an agreement which guarantees that there will be no war. But what this is the beginning of a process that is enormously important.
To 3 minutes till in 1984, thanks to the heightened tensions between the US and the Soviet Union during the Cold War.
None of the 4 wars in my lifetime came about because we were too strong. It is weakness that invites adventurous adversaries to make mistaken judgments.
And all the way back to 17 minutes till in 1991, after the end of the Cold War and the signing of START, the Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty.
Whether about issues on which we agreed or disagreed, the spirit of candor and openness, a desire not just to understand, but to build bridges, shone through.
In every case, dangerous or potentially dangerous events dictated whether the minute hand moved closer to or away from doomsday. Even though the outlook seems grim, it's important to remember what the time on the clock is really meant to show. It's not doomsday yet, and on this clock, we can turn back time.
The clock is not set by signs of good intentions, but by evidence of action, or in this case, perhaps inaction. So, is this to be considered a wake-up call? As a reminder, join Don Meyer this Friday for another America in Space program, and have your family and friends join us each week. Follow us on Facebook at aboutspace.today for launches and landings. And to all our listeners around the globe and here in the U.S., thank you for joining me today. I'm David Denault, and this has been About Space Today.